All right, everybody, good morning. Mentor session with Todd Ferguson. Hopefully, you guys can hear me okay. We've got a new setup in our office. We're all moved into our new warehouse, and hopefully, it looks a little more professional. But just a little bit about my wife and I, Todd and Paige Ferguson. We run an e-commerce business, and then we also run a 3PL or third-party logistics warehouse, which is basically where people send us merchandise, we store it for them, and then we ship it into other e-commerce websites like Amazon, Walmart, or their Shopify store. So we've got some questions here. We're going to get started. First one comes from Alex. So Alex asks, should overtime be optional or mandatory? So business description and background of questions. Says, I have a landscaping business here in PA. I'm anticipating a really busy year, and sometimes I have a light crew and want to know how to get the most work out of them when I don't quite have enough team. What are ways I can get them to work more hours, and do I have to pay overtime? So the first question is should overtime be optional or mandatory? That's up to you, and based on what your business needs. Some businesses have mandatory overtime. Some businesses have optional. We have optional. We really choose not to pay overtime when we don't need to, because that really I don't know the exact calculation, but when I was a retail manager, we had this calculation of how much more or how many more people we could have had if we at regular time versus overtime. And so that was something that's just kind of ingrained in me. Your last question is do I have to pay them overtime? So yes, legally, if they are an hourly employee, you must pay them overtime, anything over 40 hours a week. Now, whether or not you decide to make that mandatory or optional for your team, that's up to you. But if you're really struggling with ways to get them to work more hours, you can either hire more people, so you have a bigger crew. You can split up your crew. You have more options if people call in sick. Or you can create some type of bonus structure that says at the end of the year or the end of the season, however you're going to do it, that if we lay X number of feet of your concrete curbing or whatever it is, then I'll pay you a bonus on that. But trying to find ways to incentivize your crew to work faster and yet maintain the same level of the same quality that you want is something that I would really explore. And again, if you're light on crew right now, you need to start hiring. I think you've been in business long enough to where you can anticipate the workload you're going to have. You can anticipate, based on previous years, what you should be able to do. You can also hire an apprentice. You can hire somebody to kind of just follow you around, help you out, and you can pay them sometimes less, sometimes they're free if you do it that way. You can also look to offload any admin work or anything as far as scheduling that would allow you to be out there or would allow you to use another person that's doing that now on your crew. So hopefully that helps, man. All right. The next question comes from Kelly Killingsworth. It says, how do I solve the problem of spreading myself out too thin with projects in the construction world? So business description and background of question. I'm a federal, state, and local contractor and subcontractor for the construction industry, specifically the dirt world. I have projects coming up as the weather gets better. As of right now, work is slow. I'm afraid as I keep bidding projects that I'll spread myself way too thin. I'll be in a situation very soon where I'm anticipating that I will need to hire fast. At the same time, I'm assuming I will also need to fire fast. My company is small for now. This year, I'm projected to do roughly $350,000 if I can complete all projects. I have interviews scheduled starting next week, but as of right now, I'm the only employee. So as far as spreading yourself too thin, any time that you have a seasonal business, just like we talked about with Alex, it is very challenging. Even for us in our business, Q4s, so October, November, December are the times that we are absolutely slammed. We need to hire more people. We usually get behind because we just can't keep up with the demand. And then right now is actually our slow season, right now through probably June. And so you're trying to figure out things to do for your people if you want to keep them on board. But as far as spreading yourself out too thin, the first thing is that you recognize that that's probably going to happen. So you have to put systems in place. You have to, like you're doing now, you have to hire You need to hire slow, actually. And I know you're thinking you need to hire fast, but you need to take your time. You need to hire slow, and then you do need to fire fast when somebody's not completing or not upholding their end of the bargain when you hired them and what they said they're going to do. One thing you can do is, I'm not sure how long you've been in business, but if you look back at previous years, like we just talked about with Alex, you can kind of, you can use the previous experience or previous data to track what you're going to do. And so then you can say, hey, last year I did 250,000 and here's how many people I had. Here's the jobs I didn't complete on time. Here's the feedback I got from my customers. And you can use that to project your sales or your income for this year. Things you can do, like I just talked about with Alex, is if you hire people that can do the admin work or the work that's really not income producing, so whether that's scheduling, whether that's billing, that would be the first things I would look at, are the things that if you make your money when you're out there moving dirt or helping, if you're using your bulldozer and you're clearing out a basement or whatever it is, then that's the stuff that I would make sure that you are out there doing that first, because you're going to do it right. You're going to connect with the customer in the right way, but hire out that first, get rid of all the admin work that you can. Then when you need to hire, you can be working with that person. You're not sending them out on their own. But the thing is you need to hire slow. So you should be interviewing 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in advance, knowing that you've got stuff coming up, but then also firing fast if they're not. But the problem is if you fire fast and you only have one person and you didn't make the right hire, then you've got to spend time interviewing. You've got to spend time checking references, doing all that stuff to hire the second person. So I would just focus on that. You can also think about not bidding yourself out of projects, but you can, if you really feel like you have more work than you have people and you are making the money that you need right now, you might even consider bidding higher on projects, knowing you're not going to get them all, but when you do, you're not running on thin margins, and maybe only bidding projects that you can do by yourself, and giving yourself ample time. If it rains, if equipment breaks down, that you give yourself, a week leeway or 2 or whatever that is, if something happens, so that way when you move to the next project, you're not already behind. But if none of that, if that didn't make sense, or you have any questions, Kelly, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook and we can chat there. All right. Next question comes from Kimberly Benjamin. Says, what tools and routines can I use to stay ultra focused for my business? So business description and background of question says, I've always been a hard worker / hustler mentality, but now I'm about to begin going all in on one niche, one product. How can I stay focused? What tools or ideas can you share to help me stay very focused on the sales and operation of my new business, as I see tremendous potential? So distractions, having the squirrel mentality is a problem with a lot of entrepreneurs. I've dealt with it before. So things that have helped me is I would really encourage you to use the heck out of your Google Calendar. Color code that sucker. Really block out time, and don't do it. What has worked for me anyway is if I do it the day of or the day before, I'm not as productive as I should be. I really take, when I'm clicking on all cylinders and I am super productive, is I usually do it on Saturday night or Sunday morning, and I plan my entire week. So I've made my to-do list, the things that are in my brain, I've gotten them on a piece of paper, and then I take the time and I block out sections of every day for the entire week. I'm not doing it day by day. I'm planning out my entire week. And so when I use my Google Calendar, I share it with everybody that needs to know where I am, what I'm doing. And that is the very first thing I would encourage you to do. If you do not use Google Calendar, start. And then as you start using it more and more, there's a ton of different things you can do with it. You can color code stuff, or you have personal time. You have, if you're working out, you can do that a different color. If you're working on sales, that can be a different color. If you're working on the operation side, so you're learning your P&L or doing your finances, that can be a different color. And then you can look at your calendar in one, one moment and see what you've got going on, see when you have open times. That will help you stay focused, or it has for me anyway. Other things, there are, you could ask 100 people this question and you're going to get 100 different answers. But the thing that you've got to do is when you try stuff, see if it works for you. So there's certain things that work for me. There's certain things that don't. I know my tendencies. I know how my brain works. I know if when I'm more than likely going to get distracted. And so if you really, so this, I had a train of thought here. If you read Atomic Habits, I think that would be a good book for you to read. He talks about eliminating cues or giving yourself cues as far as, like, for instance, if you have a problem drinking, instead of having alcohol in the house, you would remove that. And so the same thing with your workspace. If you have a tendency to check every notification that comes across your phone or every text message, then turn use do not disturb on your phone. Say from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I don't have Facebook open. I don't have, my phone is on do not disturb. If I wear a watch that gives me notifications, I'm taking that off. I'm putting a sign on my door. I'm locking my door, whatever it is. But when you use the calendar, you can really block out those times, let people know, and then eliminate distractions. There's the Pomodoro method, I believe it's called, basically where you work for 20 minutes, you take a 10-minute break. So really just find what works for you and then just hammer the crap out of it. Start putting things in place, start putting systems in place. But that's the things I would consider for you is reading Atomic Habits. I think that'll help. You definitely using a Google Calendar, that has helped me. And then just eliminate the distractions in any way that you can. So hopefully that helps. And again, if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook and we can have a conversation. All right, last question comes from Lysandra. Lysandra asks, what things can I do to keep thinking bigger and build a business bigger than just myself and my husband? Business description and background of question. I have a baking business, specialize in custom cakes and dessert tables. It is mostly me and my husband, and I really want to grow and build something. I would love to know what you did to build what you built and some things I can do to break through these limited mindset beliefs. So I think this is a great question. I mean, these are all great questions, but when you start realizing this stuff, that potentially you might have a limited mindset belief and you need to change, that is a different place than somebody telling you that. So when you recognize that and you're willing to learn and you're willing to search out different people, different strategies, different things, that's when I really started to see a change in my business. And so one of the things I would encourage you to do would be to read the book called Mindset. I think it's Carol DeWick, and it talks about a limited mindset and I don't know exactly what it's called, but a growth mindset, and how we're raised and how it affects the way we think now. But for me, it was a good book to read when I was in that spot. And, I live in a small town. I didn't have parents that were entrepreneurs. And so I was conditioned to think a certain way. And even though I wanted to start thinking a different way, I didn't believe that I was allowed to have success. I didn't believe that I should have extra things. And so that book helped me through that. And I would encourage your husband to read it too. So if it's both you guys, it'd be a great conversation for you guys to have back and forth. Other things that helped me is networking. So getting out in front of other people, getting out in front of other entrepreneurs, other business owners, high-end managers, high-level managers. Even for me now, as we're growing and we're building businesses, and I'm at a point to where I never believed I could be at until recently, it's still great for me to get out and to connect with other entrepreneurs to see what is possible, because we only allow ourselves to see things the way we believe it. And so when we get in front of other people, we may hear something, we may see a process that they do. We walk into a building and be like, "Holy cow, this is massive!" Or the way they do this, I'd never dreamed that. And then it starts building belief. It allows you to tweak your processes and your systems, which just is a continual cycle. So networking. So for instance, one of my business partners and I went to another warehouse similar to ours, but it was 600,000 square feet. So mine's 60,000, which still to me is a large warehouse. But I went to a 600,000 square foot warehouse and saw the massive potential of things that we could do, of ways that we could process merchandise, systems, machinery, and it really just built belief. And that was in the last couple months or so. But networking, meeting other entrepreneurs, the book. And then for you, I would, if you're into baking, if you're into cake decorating, whatever that is, really start anytime you're, especially out of your area, start popping into similar businesses, larger businesses. Go to Google when you're out and about, or Yelp, or however you look for stuff, and look for Google reviews, or look for reviews on places that have a similar business background as yours, and start visiting them. Start introducing your stuff. When you walk into a business like that and you compliment the owner or the manager, and you just, hey, I was out on vacation. Your place looks beautiful. Your cakes look amazing. I actually have a bakery, where I live, and I just wanted to let you guys know that I am impressed with your operation. And you'll be amazed when you have a conversation like that oftentimes they'll be like, oh my gosh, well, let me show you this, or this is what's new. And then that's where you start learning to really visit businesses that are similar to yours, get out and about, meet people, have a conversation with your husband about this. And when you start doing that and you start seeing what's available and what's out there, then you really start to build belief. So hopefully that helps. Guys, keep asking your questions. A lot of good questions this month. Just make sure you guys go to the portal and knock those out. And anything that you think of like that, it's going to help you. It's also going to help a ton of other people. So other than that, guys, hope you have a great Tuesday. I think it is, right? Tuesday afternoon. And hopefully we'll see most of you guys at Winter Social, sorry. All right. See you guys.